What's up everyone, welcome to our review of Elder Sign. Now I know this game is really old. It's part of the Arkham Files series, which by Fantasy Flight Games, which have many games based on the H.P. Lovecraft books and mythology. This one's quite old. I picked it up recently and I thought it was really fun. I want to do a little quick review of the game and show you how it plays and what the game's about and if it's worth buying or not. So, the basic overview of Elder Sign is it's for 1 to 8 players, and like most games of the Arkham Files series, you take the role of investigators trying to defeat the Ancient Ones, which are vast, powerful gods that exist between dimensions and want to wreak havoc on reality. In this game, you're going to be in the museum where the Ancient Ones have been causing a number of bizarre events, doing adventures, and acquiring rewards. The most prized reward you can get is the Elder Sign, which are used to seal away the Ancient One and win the game. However, we do have a clock mechanic in this game, and every time it hits midnight, the Ancient One gets close to waking up and other effects happen. So let's look at setting up the game and how quickly we get to it. First of all, we take the clock token, set it to midnight, place it at the centre of the game board or near the top. I like to put it at the top up there. Make sure you have your 6 green and 1 red, 1 yellow dice nearby. Next, we choose an Ancient One. Now there are 8 Ancient Ones in the base game. All have different stats, different attacks, different abilities. Some wake up faster, some have more nasty effects of the monsters on board and different synergies. If you're familiar with the work of Fantasy Flight Games, you recognise what a lot of these enemies are, like Azathoth and Cthulhu. So for now we'll pick Azathoth, and I'll place him at the top up there. Next, we take the monster tokens and place them nearby, either in a cup or a container to draw from. If any monsters have the mass symbol, they're only used with the Ancient One, I can't say it, Nyarlathotep. It's the Egyptian looking one, that's all I'm going to call it. We'll place them nearby in a nearby cup. Next up, we shuffle the adventure deck. Deal 6 cards face up, load a clock and reference sheet. In 2 rows of 3, like so. Place the remainder nearby, and the other adventures nearby too. Next, each player will choose an investigator, or have them picked randomly. Each investigator has different stats, different stamina, different sanity, different abilities, different starting items, and so forth. So there's many to choose from. There's 16 investigators in the base game. Some are familiar faces from the other games, and they all play very differently, so it's always fun to different combinations. We play multiplayer and so forth. So for now we'll just pick, let's pick Dexter Drake, the magician. We'll place him there. Next we give each player their starting items and health and other effects. So for instance, my character here has 5 sanity, he gets 5 health. He also receives 1 unique item and 2 spells. These are chosen randomly from the decks. So we have 1 item and 2 random spells. So we put the unique items, the common items, the allies, and the spells all nearby the game board, like so. And then we take the Mythos card deck, place it face down, and resolve and reveal the top card. So as this one sees, we have an immediate effect, and some cards have lingering effects or cards that trigger when midnight strikes again. So for instance here it says either add a Doom token to the Doom track, or 1 investigator with 4 more sanity must lose 3 sanity. So we'll explain that in a second. We also have the player markers for each player, which always starts in the entrance, and clue tokens. And that's it for the setup of the game. So let's go through each item, each card, and explain how they all work and how different aspects of the game interact with each other. So, starts at the top with the Ancient One sheet. So we have the name here, Azathoth, Absolute Destruction. This will be his effect, this will be his attack. But Azathoth is one of the Ancient Ones that doesn't have any of this, because when he wakes, the game is over. So we pick Cthulhu just to show you. So you can see here, when we fight Cthulhu, if he wakes up, we have to get these symbols to damage him. This is his effect for the game, so if we play with Cthulhu, investigators have the maximum sanity reduced by 1 for the entire game, which is quite tricky. The attacks were listed here, which we'll explain when we fight the Elder One. And this along here is the Doom track, so every time a Doom token is added to the track. We start top left and move along. If we hit one of these little symbols, as you can see there, we take one of the monsters and place it down on the game board, as you can see. When the trap fills up, the Ancient One awakens, and then you must fight the Ancient One in a last effort battle to win the game, but it becomes a lot harder. The number here is the number of Elder Signs, which are these. You're going to need to defeat the Ancient One. Once you collect all these before they wake up, the game is over. Some require more Elder Signs, some require less, but the aim of the game is to get as many as you can to defeat the Ancient One. So that's the Ancient One looked at. Now the clock. At the end of each player's turn, the clock will move 3 hours clockwise in advance like so. So we go to the 3, the 6, the 9, and back to the 12. When it hits 12, a new Mythos card is drawn and resolved. Now if I just show you, some cards have lingering effects. This one here says, when the clock next strikes midnight, each investigator must discard one spell if able. So some Mythos cards have midnight striking effects. Put that down there. We also have the entrance sheet here. So this is where your character starts off. Now when you play the game, you can choose to move certain adventures, or you can choose to stay here. Staying here will give you certain benefits. So on my turn, I could choose to receive first aid, spend trophies to get extra stamina or sanity. I can roll a dice and try and get one of the appropriate items. So if I roll a dice and get one of the matching symbols, I can receive a clue, a common item, or a spell. I can spend trophies to buy souvenirs. Now trophies come from monsters, which are the value you see there at the top. So there's 2 there. Adventures completed. Not only do you get rewards in the bottom right, but you also get the number there is the trophy points, which you can then use on your turn to buy certain souvenirs. So clues, spells, allies, and even for 10 trophies, one of the famous Elder Signs which we need to win the game, which is obviously very handy. Next up, let's look at the adventure cards. So adventure cards have a few things. Let's have a look at one of them just to show you. So first of all, name of the card and a brief little narrative text there. This gives me 1 victory point, so this is used in the entrance to buy stuff in the shop and in the first aid section. Some have certain effects, so we can see here this one has terror, lose 1 sanity. So if you fail to complete the adventure and you get the terror dice, you'll lose a sanity. This one here has, at midnight, every investigator must lose 1 stamina. So some cards with midnight make sense to get first, so you don't get the midnight effects. Next to each card, as you can see here, are a number of symbols, and these are tasks. On your turn, if you're not in the entrance, you'll pick one of the adventures to choose. Place your character on the adventure, attempt to complete the task. And what we do is we take the 6 dice, these 6 green dice, and attempt to roll them to match the symbol on the card. Some have arrows indicating you must complete this adventure first, some don't. For instance, this one here means I can complete this task or this task first, it doesn't matter. This one means I must start from this task first and then do this task after. Some have locked dice symbols, so if I had a card that gave me an extra yellow dice, I couldn't use it on this adventure. So if we look here, this tells me I need to roll at least 3 of the investigation results, as you can see there, complete the adventure. Now I can roll 3, I can roll 1 and a 2, doesn't matter as long as I assign them to the adventure. Different adventures require different results. Some are harder than others. Some require you to pay stuff such as sanity, which you can see there. At the bottom of the card we have the penalties and the rewards. So there's many symbols that represent different penalties and rewards. So for instance, this one here tells me that if I fail, I'll lose a stamina, or if I succeed, I'll spawn a monster, I'll get a unique item, a common item, and one of the famous Elder Signs, which is what I wanted to win the game. This one here tells me that I will get a spell, an ally, an item, a monster, and an Otherworld card, which will go underneath, which is like a more powerful version of adventure and better rewards. This one tells me if I fail, I'll add a Doom token, so the Doom track is close to waking up the Ancient One. On the player cards, we have the maximum stamina and sanity. When either of these reaches 0, the character is defeated, so keep an eye on the stamina and sanity. Each character has certain abilities, so for instance, whoever Drake gains 1 or more spell after setup, he receives an extra spell, which is pretty cool. And then of course, as I mentioned earlier, starting items. So, above Mythos cards, we have common items. Now these range from adding dice, changing dice rolls, For instance, I could add yellow dice to my rolls, add a red dice, discard to lose stamina, and so forth. Unique items are stronger versions of regular items. These can add more dice. Red dice can change dice results. Some even let you add a red and a yellow dice, which are really powerful. Allies give lasting effects until they're discarded. So for instance, this one here ignores sanity costs of all tasks and give you spells and other unique items. And spells let you do certain things such as defeating monsters and allow you to save dice rolls rather than discarding them. So the aim of the game is quite simple. Take turns, choosing a location, completing adventures, getting elder signs to defeat the Ancient One. If the Ancient One wakes up, if it's as of course, you have to fight them and defeat them before the clock runs out. Now it might seem like it's quite a lot of luck based and it's quite hard to just get perfect dice rolls on the cards, but there are a lot of ways we can help increase our odds of getting the right dice rolls using our focus ability, our items and our clue tokens. Let's take one of the cards and have a look how this works. So it's my turn. I've chosen to go to the key to beyond. There's a character marker here. Now to complete the adventure, I take 6 of my green dice. If I had an item card that gave me a red dice or yellow dice, I could use this before rolling to add one red or yellow dice to my roll, help me with my odds. So if I roll a dice and manage to get what I need, 3, I place one of the dice on a task and then attempt to complete the next line of the task using the remainder of the dice. If I do, that's just complete, I get the trophy points and also the rewards, 2 clues and an overworld encounter. If I fail, I lose a sanity. So let's say I get the 3 and I roll and I don't get what I need for the next section. So let's say I get the peril result, I get the investigation result, but I did not quite get the law result. What happens here is, you take a dice away and try again. You run out of dice, eventually it's failed. But if you want to try again, I could focus. It means I pick one of the dice, one of the one I got successfully, and place it on my marker to sort of save the dice for next time, which means that I'm still going to lose a dice, but I've got less chance of not getting the peril result. If I had a spell, I could place one of the other dice rolls on there and save the dice rolls. So I could save 2 like this, take a dice away, and to get the last result I need. The red and yellow dice hold better results than the other dice, which this one has 4 investigation results. This one has 4 and also the wild card, which can be used for any result, a peril, investigation or a law. And also allies and other effects can help us out, such as clues. So we use clues to re-roll the dice when we need to. So if I roll a dice and I get certain results, I can use the clue token, spend it, and re-roll any dice I want to try to complete the adventure. So if a monster gets spawned, we get them to set the cup randomly. So for instance, we've got cultist here. We look at the adventures we have available. If there's a blank slot, as you can see here, the monster takes a slot and adds a new task for the adventure, making it more difficult, but at the same time we get more rewards. For instance, this card here reads, when this card is drawn, 2 monsters appear in a place in the card anyway. I can place it there. If these aren't available, I can find one of the ones with the white border around, like this, and cover that up, and it places that task. If there is none at all, it's simply choose one of the tasks, adventures, and put the monster at the bottom of the adventure, like so, to add more. But it gets harder and harder the more monsters there are. If the Doom track on the Ancient One is completed, before we get enough Elder Sign tokens, we must fight the Ancient One. This means we lead the board and send straight to a battle with the Ancient One to the end of the game. We can't use focus or abilities, but we can use items and clues until they run out. But of course you can't visit the shop, you're just stuck here to the end of the game. So the game proceeds as normal. We have a normal turn, and rather than doing a task on adventure, we do a task on the Ancient One. So for instance, Cthulhu has, I need to get one of the terror, law and peril results to complete an attack. Attack is successful, a Doom token is taken off the Doom track. When this is all gone, Ancient One is defeated, and we continue. And the play continues this way until the game is finished. So we do a turn, we move the clock, 3-hour cycles every time. Every time it hits midnight though, the Ancient One attacks, and the attack cycle pattern is listed here. So for instance, when Cthulhu attacks, each investigator must reduce either maximum sanity or maximum stamina by 1. And then a Doom token is added to the Cthulhu's Doom track. So he is extremely hard to beat. When all Doom tokens have been taken off, the Ancient One is defeated and we have won. But of course it's a lot harder to do this than the other way around and getting the Elder Signs. And that is it for Elder Sign. Now, the pros of Elder Sign, one of the things I like about this game is The setup time is extremely fast, it just takes a few minutes. It's quite easy to learn, the rules are very simple. It doesn't require a lot of reading or insight or narrative, you can just set up quickly, have a quick game. It's great for new players, people who aren't very experienced of playing these kind of games. It's good to get into, anyone can play it, it's just about matching dice symbols and using your items and spells. Although there's a lot of luck, you can use a lot of strategy too, knowing to use your items, knowing to use your clues and when to pick certain adventures is key to winning. I think it has great replayability. There are a ton of item cards, spells, adventure cards, 8 ancient ones, 16 investigators. Play multiplayer, lots of combinations of characters you can use, different abilities, which is really good. Each ancient one behaves differently, different attack patterns, so the game has a lot of value for the box. The only negatives I can give this game is if you're looking for a deep, rich narrative experience, exploring the world of H.P. Lovecraft and the mythos, and you would like the story elements of the other games, you won't find this here. There's no story, you just fight an ancient one and that's it, the game is finished. But that can be either a negative or a positive depending on what kind of player you are. Some people like that, some people want more the story elements. But it's a very fun game to have, and I think for the price you get and the amount of content in the game, it definitely justifies the price of the game itself. It's definitely worth buying if you like the other Arkham Horror Files series. While it's not as in-depth as, say, Mansion of Madness or Eldritch Horror, it certainly is a unique way of playing this kind of game. It feels very different. Although the items and investigators and ancient ones all the same name, the idea of using dice to complete adventures and tasks and get elder signs is quite different than how the other games play. So it'll still feel fresh. I mean, I own Eldritch Horror, Mansion of Madness and Arkham Horror, and this one still feels fresh and different to play, and I still like to play it occasionally. Well, I don't get the same sort of satisfaction playing a large story and the resolution of what I've done and the effects and investigators and how I feel like I've saved the world as the other games. This is definitely a fun, quick version of the game. It's sort of like condensed down, and it's very quick fire and exciting to play. Definitely recommend it for new players. And that's it for this review. If you have any questions about this game, let me know. This game is relatively cheap, has tons of expansions, and a little hard to find now for being a bit older, but that's it for this review. Leave a like, comment, and thanks for watching.